Before I get into the video, I do want to know I end up calling Winter Warrior Winter Soldier. So just keep in mind, every time I say Winter Soldier, I mean Winter Warrior. Extremely down, bad, brain fart on my part. But yeah, let's get into the video. So, after 2 years of the first installment of Sniper Elite VR, now comes Sniper Elite VR Winter Soldier, which tries to build on the original game. Instead, the game places you in a snowy winter setting in the Northern Gothic line. And I want to compare both Sniper Elite VR and Sniper Elite VR Winter Soldier, it's a mouthful, to see if the game builds on what the first one did. As of right now, Sniper Elite VR Winter Soldier is out only exclusively on Meta, Oculus 2, 3, and Pro. First, I want to talk about gameplay and performance. As someone that bought Sniper Elite VR when it came out, the first game, at least to me, has the worst starting level ever. This is made worse by levels being locked behind progression. In Winter Soldier, the starting level is great. It gets you familiar with the mechanics of the game, and you begin to notice it's just a reskin of the previous game, but overall, it does it better than the first one. Sniper Elite VR and Winter Soldier, in my opinion, have mediocre gunplay when comparing it to Onward, Breachers, Pavlov, or Contractors. When I bought Sniper Elite VR, I played the first level a dozen times and hated every minute. In a game that leans on unrealistic gunplay and mechanics, the guns in the game are really stiff as they took Viagra, or grabbing things like your pistol, ammo, grenades, what have you fumbling around. And it's something that you need to get used to not fumble around as much. And in the second game, this is slightly improved, but not greatly. And playing the games, you feel as during the game design process, they didn't choose between becoming an enemy wave arcade shooter or sticking to becoming a sim shooter. And in both games, enemy eye is very basic, as they're bound to shoot you through walls and see you, even if you're not envisioned. In the second game, this is slightly improved, but barely. The AI isn't bad or great. It's just that in a game where stealth is an option, and if you try to play that way, at times it just throws you completely off. With playing stealth, it isn't impossible. You just have to be extremely patient, as any little thing can throw the AI off. With map design on both games, it still feels like an on-rail shooter, as it makes you traverse through areas finding ammo and letters, but not to the extent of an open world like Hitman or Sniper Elite 4 or 5. With the Sniper Elite series in VR, it compares nothing to the series that is in PC. And with that, the story has the same old boring grandpa yapping about his good old days, about coming close to assassinating Hitler. It's not bad, it just slows the game down more than anything. If the game devs really tried and made an action-packed story with a real protagonist and a band of characters, it would be a significantly way better game. But they don't. It is just the old guy recounting about his glory days, which isn't bad, but let's just call it as it is. Now, graphics. In Sniper Elite VR, the game looks impressive on Quest 2 and Quest 3. And for Quest 2, it came out during a time where people weren't ecstatic about the platform and weren't sure it could handle games in a larger scope, at a larger scope. Environments in the first game look good, with the fact that the game runs at 72 Hz, no application space warp. But one thing you will notice in the first game is that the game looks and runs smooth, but guns, when handling or dropping weapons, they run at a significantly way lower frame rate, and it's probably to compromise on performance. In Winter Soldier, environments on Quest 3 look super sharp. If you're on Quest 3, it's worth it alone just for the visual clarity, but textures are still rendered low like in the first game. If you're on Quest 2, it looks like the first game, along with the insane amount of aliasing and jaggies. It's not unplayable, but if you bought the first game, you might want to rethink of buying Winter Soldier, since it mostly feels like a DLC to the first game. But the game is priced so low that most people, it shouldn't be a problem buying. Visually on Quest 3 is worth getting. Texture-wise, it looks like Onward had an insane resolution boost. And other improvements and things that I like about Winter Soldier are better transitions with the story, with the grandpa yapping a lot better. Instead of random yapping here and there, he yaps more controllably. And also, Winter Soldier tries to add more guns, as they've now added the M1A1 Thompson SMG and the M1 Garand rifle with the second edition of the game. And they also added 2 game modes, one called Sniper Hunt, where you have to fight an AI Nazi sniper, and Last Stand pits you against increasing enemy waves. And I tried them both out. Sniper Hunt and Last Stand are are underwhelming. They kind of feel like afterthoughts, but they're good enough to at least add some replayability, but they're not the best. Overall, if you're on Quest 3, I think it's worth getting, but it's a winner reskin of the first game, and it's nowhere near the PC version of Sniper Elite. And hopefully the devs add more content post-launch, but remember, this is a game at fraction of the cost of when Sniper Elite came out. So I think it's worth settling expectations. And the game is fun and it's worth checking out. With the lower price tag, it definitely makes it more accessible to everyone. On Quest 2, it does feel like the same game. And a big emphasis of this second game, at least to me, is that in Winter Soldier, you can actually look far into the distance. It has a bigger depth of field than the first game, as well as on Quest 2, it doesn't improve as much as it has its limitations, and the Quest 3 helps mitigate the issue, and it allows the players to feel a greater sense of immersion, since your feeling of space, as well as you can see in other games like Grid Legends, where increasing resolution does help, to me at least, immerse myself into the world better. And yeah, are you going to buy Winter Soldier or pass? Overall, it feels like a DLC of the first game with a pretty good resolution bump on Quest 3. Leave a like, leave a comment, and until the next video, bye.